One of these strategies feels safer, but in many markets, it quietly makes you a weaker buyer. Most homeowners believe that finding a new home to live in before selling their current one is the best and safest strategy there is. Think about it. You search for the perfect home, find it, write an offer, and make it subject to the sale of your current one, thinking that it protects you from risk. And emotionally, that makes total sense. You don't want to rush, you don't want to settle, you want to find the right home first and then worry about selling later. But here's the tension that most people don't see coming. Protection is not the same as strength. And strength is what actually decides who gets the house. In competitive markets, this strategy often does something unexpected. Your offer gets passed over. The seller keeps marketing the home. And the home that you've already pictured yourself living in gets sold to someone else. So why does this happen? Why do sellers reject these offers even when the price is right? Why do buyers feel under contract but never truly secure? And why do some other buyers, in fact, most other buyers facing the same market conditions, choose to sell first and somehow come out ahead? Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's video. We're going to break down the age-old question. Should you buy first and then sell, or should you sell first and then buy? We're going to stack up two fictional buyers side by side and discuss their experiences as well as get real about the pros and cons of both strategies. This way, if you are going into a situation like this or even considering it, you have the full story and can make the best decision for you. You're going to learn the struggles each party has, their main concerns, and who is most likely to win in the end. If that sounds good, let's get into it right now. You only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right. Hey, it's worth mentioning, my name is Darren, a realtor based right here in White Rock and South Surrey, and I've been helping families buy and sell homes here since way back in 2007. In fact, I've worked with hundreds of people over the years, many of whom found me right here on this YouTube channel. So if you're seriously thinking about making a move and want some smart local advice, zero pressure, just real insight, there's a link in the description to book a time with me or my team, and we'll help you make the right move with confidence. Okay, so here is the paradox. Two smart, prepared buyers can make completely opposite decisions and both be perfectly rational because the market, not the buyer, decides which strategy works. This isn't a video about what you should do. It's about understanding how each strategy actually behaves, what risks it removes, and what risks it adds. This isn't about which strategy is better. It's about understanding when each strategy works and when it creates problems because both paths are common, both can succeed, and both come with trade-offs that can change depending on the type of market that you're in. But, and there's always a but, here's what's important to know up front. Most people, especially those who already own a home, instinctively lean towards buying first and then selling. So why is this? Well, it's because the idea of selling first without knowing where you'll go next feels terrifying. You imagine being rushed, forced to settle for a home that you're not in love with, stuck renting if things just simply don't come together, or watching the market climb while you're sitting on the sidelines. So the logic goes like this. Let's find the perfect next home first. Then we'll deal with selling our current one. And on the surface, that sounds really smart. You're not wasting time. You're not disrupting your life. You're playing it safe. But that's where the tension begins because the very thing that feels safe emotionally often adds risk structurally. So, what do I mean by this? Well, there's only really two paths that a person who owns a home who needs the proceeds from the sale of that home to proceed forward can choose. Path one is buying before you sell, using a condition on your offer that says something along the lines like, this purchase depends on me selling my current home. Path number two is selling your current home first and then searching for the next one. One gives you emotional security and the other gives you transactional strength, but neither is perfect. I want you to think of it like this. Think of it like crossing a river. You can build a temporary bridge first, secure your next step before moving, or you can leap to the other side and just trust that the ground will be there when you land. Both are risky in different ways, and which one works better really depends less on who you are and more on the kind of river that you're actually crossing. To bring this to life, we're going to be following two fictional buyers, buyer A and buyer B. These aren't extreme cases or outliers either. They represent the most common homeowners trying to move up, downsize, or relocate while already owning a home that they need the proceeds from to be able to make the next purchase happen, which is pretty common. So let's start with buyer A. We'll call them the contingent buyer. Buyer A owns a home and they're ready for something new, but they don't want to sell before knowing where they're going. So when they find a property they love, they write an offer subject to selling their current home. Their thinking is this: let's lock up the next step now. If it doesn't work out, no harm done. We just don't sell. It feels controlled. It's reversible. It feels smart. Now let's meet buyer B. We'll call them the sequential buyer. Buyer B also owns a home and wants to move, just like buyer A. But instead of writing an offer that is contingent on selling their home, they instead list their current home for sale first. They accept the uncertainty that comes with it. They might end up renting or having to wait, but once they do sell, they'll be ready to buy without conditions. Their thinking is this: let's eliminate the variables. Let's have money in hand. Let's be the kind of buyers sellers actually say yes to. And perhaps before we proceed, we should really address that fear of having to rent or having to wait. Because truth be told, this is a really common fear that lots of people have when they sell their home before they buy another. But there are definitely ways to mitigate this fear. You can never get rid of it completely, but there's ways to walk into it with lots of comfortability. An example of this would be to get some general sale price numbers on their current home first and investigate a few homes on the market to make sure that those people can find the type of house that they want with the features they need and the neighborhood they desire, to prove that their plan is easily achievable and available in a variety of listings. While acknowledging that those listings likely won't be available when they actually sell their home, they can have a level of comfort knowing that their buying power will get them something that they will love down the road. The fact of the matter is that everybody has a budget, and with budget limitations come restrictions on what you can actually buy. So while no house is usually ever going to be absolutely perfect, if a home buyer can achieve nearly all, if not all, of their wish list comfortably, then it's usually safe to proceed with putting their home on the market. Anyways, I'm digressing a little bit. Let's go back to our buyer examples. So both of our buyers are rational people. Both are trying to manage risk. They're just choosing different types of risk to carry. So now let's walk them through the same market at the same time and see how they both fare. Just before we jump into that though, if you're even thinking about buying a home, whether it's in the areas we serve of White Rock, South Surrey, Surrey, or the surrounding municipalities, it could be anywhere in BC, you're going to want to be sure to grab a copy of our free PDF, 21 grants and rebates for home buyers just like you. We pulled together every program we could find: federal, provincial, and even niche local ones, plus tips, links, and quick ways to save money. These are often hard to find, buried, and made confusing. So we have sourced them out and put them into one single spot so you can take full advantage. It's totally free and could save you thousands. So you can get it now by using the link in the description of this video. Okay, so back to our two buyers with two very different solutions to the same problem. Buyer A, our contingent buyer, finds a property they love: great location, ideal layout, priced within range. They write a strong offer with a strong deposit, but it's subject to selling their home. This causes the seller's agent to pause. Meanwhile, buyer B, they haven't found the one yet because they're not seriously shopping. They're focused on selling first, pricing based on current market data, not assumptions. In response to buyer A, the seller that receives the offer from them, they may like the price, but the condition to them selling their home creates a little uncertainty. So they may accept the offer, but maybe not at their best price, but also with a kickout clause. This means that the home stays on the market. If a better offer comes in, the seller lets buyer A know they have 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it is, to firm up their offer and commit 100% to the purchase or step aside. Buyer A is technically under contract, but they're never fully secure. They can be bumped out of spot at any time. While that's happening, buyer B launches their listing. Showings start immediately and hopefully interest is building. Then eventually the moment happens. Now back to buyer A, the moment, which happens pretty frequently, eventually happens. Another buyer submits a clean offer on the same home that buyer A is tied to. There's no sale condition. They're ready to close, and buyer A is given their 48 hours. But you know the problem, their home hasn't sold. Heck, it might not even be on the market yet. They might still be getting it ready. This means buyer A can't firm up and they lose the home. Now, on the other side of town, buyer B eventually accepts an offer on their property. It could be almost right away as soon as they list it for sale, or it can even take some time. But either way, eventually it firms up a deal and they have some clear dates and clear numbers to work with. Now, look at the pressure points in this situation between buyer A and buyer B. Buyer A feels the emotional letdown. That house becomes the benchmark and everything else feels like a compromise. Buyer B feels exposed, but they're empowered. They have a clock, but they also have leverage. Buyer A, they start to hesitate. Do they even keep trying to buy first? Do they list now? Their confidence drops. And for some buyers, this cycle repeats for months or even years. They stay in a home that no longer fits, waiting for a perfect replacement that never quite arrives. Imagine they are maybe out of space or they want to be closer to work, closer to the kids' school, whatever that may be, but it just delays their plans indefinitely. Now, truth be told, buyer B, they feel a little bit of pressure, but they also have clarity. They can act the moment the right home appears. When you look at these two scenarios side by side, buyer A is simply weaker in most markets. Their purchase depends on too many moving parts aligning. They often overpay early, locking in a price before the market fully tests it. If values soften while they've locked in a price, things like appraisals can come in low, putting their financing at risk. They also may consider doing things like bridge financing, which solves the problem of getting the house before they sell their current one, but it isn't free money and it comes with higher interest rates and really strict timelines. Buyer B, however, buys under real market conditions. They can even consider a subject to the purchase of a new home condition when getting an offer from a buyer on their home, which can feel safer, but it kind of creates the same sort of problem we're talking about right now. It just shifts the risk to the buyer of their home in this circumstance. So most just end up agreeing to a sale contract with a motivated buyer and get ready to go search for their next home. The reality is that listings, they don't always sell quickly, and sellers don't wait for interested buyers to sell their home unless they have to. And when weeks and even months pass by, the buyers needing to sell their current home need extensions on the homes they committed to. That doesn't always work out well either. Extensions are leverage, but not guarantees. The sellers that they're trying to work with, they get fatigued as well. But I want to let you in on the very worst part of the entire plan that buyer A has. And what that is losing a home that they're emotionally invested in. Think about this. The buyer starts envisioning their life in the home, the renovations they would do, the bedrooms their kids will occupy, and their future life in this perfect home that they have found. When they lose the home and then that entire dream and vision is shattered, this can cause people to delay their plans for months and even years, stalling people far longer than they expect. In slow markets, contingencies can work. In balanced markets, clarity matters. And in competitive markets, clean offers win. The market always decides. Buyer A, in our example, they sought comfort, but they lost time and momentum. Many buyers eventually pivot back to selling their home first anyways because they get frustrated with the process and they lose the home that they wanted in the first place. Sometimes they do this again, again, and again until they finally accept that it's just not working the way that they thought it would. Now, buyer B, they accepted disruption, but they gained structure and control. Neither buyer is wrong in this example, but they both just decided to carry different risks. Buying before selling can feel safer, but it often shifts risk into timing, pricing, and financing. Selling first removes uncertainty, but demands short-term flexibility. The real question isn't what feels better, it's what the market rewards. Who gets the house in the end? Now, I'm curious, which of these strategies do you most align with after hearing how things played out for buyer A and buyer B? Have you been through this before? And if so, which path did you choose to take? And why did you choose it? And what, if anything, would you do differently next time? Let us know in the comments below. It's always helpful for others to hear what worked, what didn't, and what you learned along the way. And if this topic hit home for you, the next video is going to dig even deeper into a version of this dilemma that's even harder to navigate. I call it the unicorn house. That one home that feels so rare, so perfect, it can't be replaced, but it still requires you to sell first. And for a lot of buyers, that one house becomes the benchmark for every other home. And when you're not ready to act, it can stall your move for years. We're going to look at the real risks of shopping outside of your affordability, falling for the irreplaceable home and how it shapes your expectations going forward. If you're curious about all that, I got good news. That video, it's coming up right now. Have you ever fallen in love with a home that you couldn't buy? Not because it was too expensive, but because you weren't ready. Maybe your home wasn't sold, or your financing wasn't in place, or maybe you were just browsing. And suddenly, there it is, the unicorn house. Perfect location, perfect layout, perfect everything.